You're watching Shift Happens Beyond the Boxes, where we take a look at the inner workings of the moving industry.
All right, guys, my name is Jason Bergenske. I'm the CEO and founder of MOVEITPRO software and line send booking service. This is our second year of doing the Legends Retreat. We're pretty excited. We're almost sold out already. And so one of the things we wanted to do was, the people that have supported us in this event, obviously we have a bunch of speakers, which are absolutely amazing. Getting them into this event, doing a webinar, which obviously is completely free, and being able for everyone to be able to take nuggets from how they've built their companies. Several of the people that are here obviously are moving company CEOs that have built, $10 to $20 million moving companies. We've got some marketing people here. We've got some finance people here. We got insurance people here. So these are all kind of the ones that are going to be at the retreat, and kind of the ones of how they've built the success in their companies, and they're willing to share it, so which is, I think, is a huge thing. So anyway, so thank you guys all as far as speakers and sponsors being here. Can we get, I think Eric Works, promote to panelists. I see he's in the audience. Let me see if he pops in now.
Come on down.
Here he comes. Are we missing anyone else? I don't think so. Hey, Eric, how you doing?
Jason.
Sorry, I'm not sure why I didn't let you in to begin with, but we're glad you're here. Obviously, we just started, so.
Jason,
Gary.
JC.
Oh, you see JC there?
Mm-hmm.
JC just popped in. Hi, JC.
And also your dad.
Yes.
Hey, guys.
We're going to keep him out there.
What's going on, JC?
You letting him in? You letting him in, Jeremiah?
Oh, man.
Yep, I just promoted Gary to a panelist.
Okay, perfect. So sweet. So anyways, so the big thing, I think we have a few different things. So one is we have some subjects that we want to cover that people bring up a lot. And one of the things that everyone that's in this as panelists here are, you guys are professionals in one area or another that people ask about all the time. So I'll kind of go through those. In addition to that, we have a list of questions that have been submitted by the people that have registered. Mm-hmm. And if we have time, we'll kind of go through those. So kind of to start, I kind of just want to introduce everyone, if you guys are cool with that. So I don't know if everyone's in the same orientation on here, but I'll just kind of call out your name. So Matt Young, so obviously you own movingletters.ai. You've got a moving company yourself. You'll be one of the speakers there. You're also sponsored the event. And so you'll be, giving some people some information on that, which is awesome. We got Bruce Woodburn. Yeah. Yep. Thank you so much. Bruce Woodburn. He is a pretty neat guy. I met him, we had yachts in the same place, and he was my neighbor, and he owns a branch of a cross-country mortgage, and has several radio shows here in Florida, where he's kind of become a little bit of a celebrity here in our local area. He's got pictures with some famous guys I wish I knew. And so super neat. Trisha here is from Hub Transportation, which is an insurance group there. She's the vice president. So she'll be able to give us a lot of information on the insurance side in the transportation industry, which obviously all of us are dealing with. Steve Reed, obviously the founder originally of Big League Movers. He also owns a company called Ready Rolls. And they'll be at the mansion, and also sponsors of the event. Grown, I don't know, $10 million moving company or so?
No, just under it. Didn't hit that goal.
Yeah, 9.9, something like that. So
round it off.
We got Greg Shepard, who's the founder of USA Home Listings, a phenomenal mailing company that can do all your mailing for you and stuff. We used them personally when we had J&J Metro. I'm going to skip to Eric Works real quick, only because he's now the CEO of USA Home Listings. He also is the founder of Works Moving and Storage. You guys what kind of size are you guys, Eric?
Kind of like right around where Steve is, just a hair under 10 million.
Hair under 10, perfect. So also runs a phenomenal company there in Atlanta. And he's gotten to the point where he's completely hands-off running a $10 million moving company between his leadership team and what he's built there. And he's obviously an entrepreneur in several other areas in his life. Travis Weathers, Rotate Digital, owns a marketing firm. Just did the Inc. 5000 again, which is awesome. $3 million a year, right? And you mostly specialize in the moving industry, which I think is huge. which is a big part. So happy for you to be here.
Thank you.
One of my good buddies, JC Caldwell, one of the owners of Black Tie Moving. He's the former CEO. I think they only do about 10 million. No, I'm just kidding. Wait, what was Black Tie's? Where are you guys at? A little over 20?
Yes, sir.
About 20 million a year.
Yes, sir.
He just recently stepped down as the CEO, but is built a phenomenal organization there. They're actually a customer of MOVEITPRO software. When they first started, I think there were 4 or 5 trucks. Now running, how many men you guys got and how many trucks you running?
I mean, gosh, we're probably in season, a couple hundred guys, 75 trucks, I would say, across all locations, including our interstate division.
That's fantastic.
Yes, sir.
So we got Gary Bergenske, who's actually my father. He, along with my grandmother, bought a moving company back in the 80s, had been open since 1968, ran that for 30 years. I then came into the business, which is where I came into the moving business. There's pictures of me in the hallway or, the aisles with all the crates on either side on a 4-wheel dolly getting bumped into everything. When I was probably about 3 years old, I probably caused havoc there. He retired from the moving company and then became essentially the CEO of Shriners Hospitals for Children, which is a multi-billion-dollar organization, 22 hospitals across the country. Employees, how many employees ran for the Shrine?
That's 6,000.
6,000 employees. So he also was one of the speakers last year. Obviously, my dad, I had to give it to him, right? But super happy for him to be part of this as well. And then my wife is there. Her camera's off because she's home with our baby right now. So anyway, so that's kind of, sorry, the long-winded. I actually did not have a script. I know all of that about you guys without looking at something. So that's awesome.
We don't either.
Yeah. So I'm going to go ahead and go. The first one I got is the importance of branding. And I kind of wanted to, obviously all of us be able to input in this, but I think it's a big one that like Eric Works probably can really dial into along with Travis Weathers, being that, obviously as Eric Works being a founder of a $10 million moving company that's completely hands-off at this point. And then Travis, who's obviously running marketing for moving companies all across the country. I think there's really big things. So Eric, if you want to start it off, if you don't mind, just kind of the big bullet points of your guys' marketing, what you guys have done and what's worked for you and how you feel that could benefit other moving companies, I think, that are struggling with not caring as much. A lot of moving companies, they don't care about their branding. They just show up in a U-Haul truck. They're not branding the stuff. They're not in uniforms. They're not in what that really means when you're trying to build a large organization.
Yeah, so in the beginning of end of 2023, beginning of 2024, we went through what's called a brand revitalization. It's one step down from a complete brand overhaul.
Looks great, by the way. Amazing job.
And one of the decisions on that we made was probably one of the biggest decisions why we decided to do that is that I had a local realtor one time who had never heard of us, and that was very, very eye-opening. We had run the same brand and logo since the inception of the company, so it had not changed in over a decade, and that was very eye-opening because we're one of the largest moving companies in our market, and the fact that like a realtor from right down the street who'd been selling homes for 20 years and not heard from us was just kind of like a punch in the gut. And then I had done a deep dive in some analytics on branding and stuff like that. There's a great book out there called Branded Not Blanded, written by Dan Antonelli, and I actually had read that book a year before. And then some of the things in that book just kind of stood out to me when that thing happened. So we went through that process, and not all brand agencies are created equal. It's not hard to find someone on Fiverr to make you a logo for $10. That's not branding. The true best of the best brand agencies, and knowing what I know now, and this will be really valuable to new companies. Knowing what I know now, I think it's probably one of the best investments you could ever make, and I would do it right away as soon as you can afford it. And your high-end, top-of-the-line brand agencies, and I don't want this to come as a shock, but the going rate for a true professional high-end brand agency is going to run you somewhere between $20,000 and $30,000. And what that's going to come with is a complete brand kit and guidelines, so you can really see where that value comes in. It's kind of like, it's not a company that's going to do everything. It's not a company that does all your marketing, but they'll give you a brand too. It's a company that like 95% of what they do is branding and nothing else. And going
Eric,
through,
what's for those who don't know, what's a branding kit?
it's just and I'm probably gonna miss say some lingo, because I was actually a little hands off this, but like overall, it's everything in one package, and that coincides with the branding guidelines. So it's like how your website should flow, how all your marketing material should flow. Everything's got to be in sync. So that's like my 10,000-foot view answer. And a professional branding company probably give you a much better answer than I just gave. And what we found with that, and it took and because we're such a larger company, it was astronomically expensive to complete the whole entire process. It's just getting the branding and the guidelines and the kit, that alone was 30 grand. And then redoing all your marketing materials, redoing your website, rewrapping all your trucks. I think in the year of 2024, we were all in around $250,000.
What size organization were you back then, Eric? You think?
Oh, just what we are now. We were at one point in time around 11, and then we right-sized after COVID when the tide went out and you saw who was swimming naked.
Yep.
So we had to. You could call it downsizing, but I call it right-sizing. Right-sizing is downsizing enough, but not going too small and still being able to maintain growth and profitability. Yep. And that's a whole other subject. And what we found is that it dumped gasoline on everything. Lead volume went up, sales conversions went up, call to actions on the truck brand themselves, people actually seeing your truck, went up. So many things went up. All the things that Dan Antonelli talked about in his book, and he has a brand agency as well. We never went with him. We went with a local powerhouse in my own market. But they're all around the same price. So I'm just letting people know, expect to pay somewhere between $20,000 and $30,000 to have this done and have it done right. And like I said, knowing what I know now, like I would have done this on day one. Like the minute I had 25 grand saved, like put to the side, it's almost kind of like, it almost kind of reminds me like an SEO investment, you're basically going to light money on fire for the first 9 to 12 months, and it's going to go kaboom. And I'm sure Travis can speak of that too. Like you're not going to get, the phone's not going to ring off the hook on day one. But no,
you don't stroke him a check for 15, 20 grand. And then the next day your phone's ringing off the hook. That's not how SEO works.
Yeah, but if you want to try that $20 grand check, I'll let you know how it goes. Just let me know.
No, but that's what it reminds me of. We've seen amazing results with that. And like I said, knowing what I know now, I would have done that from day one. I would highly recommend any smaller moving company or newer moving company do it. And then the great thing about it was we let them drive the ship. We stayed the hell out of the way. We let the professionals do what the professionals do, because it's really easy for an owner to get emotionally attached to something, and become our own worst enemy. And I made sure that I completely avoided that, as well as the team. Even the team was having some pushback against it, So it wasn't just getting buy-in from me; it was getting buy-in from the team too. But we're all happy we did it. It's one of the best decisions we ever made. And I just recommend anybody new that if you're gonna definitely have the professionals do it, definitely do it the moment you can afford it. It'll just compound. I can only imagine maybe how successful and what size we would have been if we would have done that 14 years ago versus last year.
Yeah,
Eric, you mentioned downsizing. Right sizing, not downsizing. You mentioned right sizing, and you branded at the same time, which is a interesting time to do it. How did it have an impact? Not just on ROI, did it have an impact on culture as y'all unified from this brand during a right size?
100%. 100%.
That's what I was. That's so big for us, and that's why it's an important part. Is an underlying meaning is that staff having unity behind it. So Sorry, Eric. I was just interested in that timing of when you did it.
Yeah. And I think one of the coolest things too, when I see all your guys' shirts, your trucks and stuff is, I mean, your guys, your line is be moved. I think, which is super cool because, you know, it has multiple meanings, obviously, you know, but fits right in with the moving industry, which is cool. So, I think that's awesome. Cool. Travis, you want to, on a branding standpoint, for one of your customers that comes to you, you know, obviously you deal with this a lot. You probably have guys that are coming to you for SEO and you look at their stuff and you're like, man, their brand sucks. You know, what is that? What are you looking at when you're knowing? Because obviously they can spend all the money in the world on advertising. And this goes for probably for Matt and his stuff and Greg for his stuff. If you're sending mailers to all these people and then they go to your website and it's utter garbage, you know, obviously that's going to kill your conversions. It's going to kill your trustworthy with the customer and stuff like that.
Yeah. So I would piggyback off what Eric said when it comes to branding with your digital marketing, or let's just say SEO. There's probably two major points that I would make on this. Number one, your best return on your investment is when you get a good brand. And I'll connect the dots on why, but we've had the same SEO process done on two different companies in the same exact city, targeting roughly the same people, and both had success in SEO and getting a return on investment for their business investment. They invested into SEO and then they got a return. But in terms of leveraged return, the company that was branded better, and I would say you've got twofold. You got branded better, and that is a holistic picture. And then one that is branded better because, or branded or have better branding because they ran a business better. You got two different leveraged results. One company got your 200 grand or whatever it is, 150 return. The other company got $1 million return. And the biggest difference was how the business was run. The second biggest difference was how it was branded. If you think about in the eyes of Google and in terms of the return on investment when it comes to, let's say, SEO, Google is looking at these signals all over the place. And so if you're going to take a brand that is searched often on Google for their brand, right? Big League Movers, Black Tie Moving, like they're directly searching for the brand. Google is going to see that and they're going to go, therefore, this is wanted more for my audience and my customers. Therefore, I'll push this up on the maps or on the SEO, on Google, on the maps, on the search results. The difference is then, does Google even know how to understand and read your website and all that? And so you add fuel to the fire by having a well-done brand. It's why you'll see guys like Tommy Mello. He'll be like, dude, when I did billboards, my SEO went through the roof. It's because everything was there structurally with SEO. Everything was there and working with digital marketing. But then you've got these billboards all over Arizona. And what happens is you got all these people Googling A1 garage doors. And then everything starts lifting off together. Their SEO starts lifting off together. The return on investment on their marketing channels lift off together because of that. So the better the brand in your neighborhood, in your area, the more well-known you are, the better you're going to get results on all your marketing efforts. And so again, that's why you have to focus on being online, being on Reddit, getting a good brand in terms of the way you look, dealing with your customers well, because it's going to give you the biggest lift on ROI. We have many clients in California. We have one of the bigger moving companies in California as a client. And what is the difference between us doing work for the small guy and the big guy? It's almost, you would call it the same. I mean, there's the volume difference, but the massive leverage the bigger brand gets because of the well-branded business they have is phenomenal. So that's why branding is so important in digital marketing when it comes to SEO.
Yeah, that's huge. So one question came in, a bunch of questions have come in, but before we move on to the next topic, Nate had asked Mike for Eric, what exactly did the company do? Give us examples of things the branding company did. So I guess if you want to take a minute or so.
I had to answer, so I was trying to give like a 10,000 foot answer.
No, you're good.
So they did everything. They redesigned the logo. They redesigned the tagline. In fact, like the tagline "Be Moved" came from me, and they loved it so much we ran with it. I just spit it out one day. They worked with every single marketing vendor, marketing team member that we had, and made sure they followed the brand kit guidelines. They made sure that the messaging, the branding, everything was cohesive. So that way,
The colors, the everything, right? The colors, the font, the everything.
So basically every single type of marketing that our company does, whether it's in-house or with a vendor, they work directly with them to make sure they were matched to the brand guidelines so that everything's cohesive, everything's in sync. Just redesigned all our shirts. I mean, anything that has a brand or anything in our company that was touched by a brand or a logo, they had their hands on it. And you when it's all said and done, you clearly see that you get what you pay for. Like, these are truly high level professional companies, and this is why you pay what you pay. And that's why I said before, like, if you're going to go on this journey, and I recommend everyone do it, like, knowing what I know now, don't do this on your own. It's just worth it. And it just keeps, the ROI just keeps compounding. Like, we just finally finished fully wrapping all the trucks. We spent the last 60 grand doing that back in November. So
I know that was high dollar.
yeah. So because the ROI from the tracking we have on our trucks, from the tracking phone number and QR code, was going through the roof compared to having the same things before on the original brand that was done by a friend of mine back in 2009. So yeah, big picture, they are involved and touch and make sure everything is following the brand guidelines, utilizing the brand kit. Brand kit's basically the entire package you pay for.
Perfect. That's awesome. So one of the next questions we got on here is building a strong team, which JC, I know you've built a team there at Black Tie. I know what you guys were before right as you came on board, they're running the company. And then where obviously you've left now, you guys have gone through COVID together. You've gone through a lot of stuff with that company, opening locations. Can you talk to us a little bit as far as building the team culture that you guys have done at Black Tie to make Black Tie a place that people, A, want to work, and B, where the customers want to use Black Tie because you're guys, that's a big part of it, right? So would love for you to talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, absolutely, man. We always say moving, although we would like to think differently, and I know there's some technical aspects to it, moving is a pretty basic process, right? It's picking it up, setting it down in a different place, doing as little damage as possible. And we all do a great job at that, the guys represented here. But what really makes a difference are the people. And quite frankly, it was made crystal clear to me at a huge real estate event in Dallas. And this was very early in my career at Black Tie. In fact, I had just come out of the tactical unit at Dallas PD, working in South Dallas for the 4 years previous. So I was used to the rougher side of things. But we stood in that real estate event, and I listened to Dustin speak, and he asked a room full of about 2,500 realtors how many of them had a moving company that they regularly recommended. And when I tell you that it was less than a dozen out of a room that size, it was shaking, right? And when we asked the question, why, it was just a lack of trust. And it was a lack of trust in the people that they had seen on their own personal moves, listening to horror stories from their clients. And we knew at that moment that the people had to be the difference. And so with that came much more stringent hiring process. It became a stronger vetting, not just putting on a piece of paper or on a flyer or on a website that says we background check and drug test all of our people. We actually background checked and drug tested our people, right? We wanted to know who they were that were going in homes. When I take it from a law enforcement standpoint, from a tactical standpoint, and I go, we are asking customers to let strangers into the most sacred place that we as humans have. right? There's not a lot of privacy left in the world. But when I go home at night and I close my door and I lock the front door, that's about as private as it gets now for human beings. And to ask a customer to let a stranger in those places, not just in the foyer of your home or in the living room, but in your bedroom and then into the drawer of your dresser and to pack your things, that's a big ask. And it is my responsibility. It is our responsibility as owners, GMs, operations managers to make sure that the people we are sending into those places are the absolute most reliable, honest, and trustworthy people that we can find. Now, do we hit that mark 10 out of 10 times? Of course we don't. Is it tougher in peak season? Of course it is. Do we try to build teams of a 4-man job and we send 3 great guys and we send that greenhorn, right? The untested guy, the one that hasn't proven himself yet to be honest and walk by the cash that's on the counter in the kitchen that the wife left laying out before she ordered lunch for the guys. All those scenarios that we've all heard and seen. But if we are not doing our due diligence to build that in our movers, we are short selling our customers and we are asking for something that they are only going to give us once. You may get by with that one time. And if you don't care about repeat customers, you have bigger problems, right? Because there are people at Black Tie, and I know these other companies are represented that have moved with us 5, 6, 7, 8 times. And I'm not talking about referrals. I'm talking about the same individual and even more than that in referrals that are sent. So we have to do our very best for our customers when we're interviewing, hiring, training, and vetting the men and women that we are going to let inside their homes. Now, I'll go faster now, Jason, but I wanted to really hit that hard on the mover side. The team doesn't stop with the movers, right? We wanted to create a culture where guys wanted to come to work, and that is from the movers all the way up through the C-suite, that they wanted to be there and wanted to be engaging in what we were doing and what our vision was. And we have not always had a great culture at Black Tie, but we worked very hard on that the last 4 or 5 years. And I do believe it became a place where people really enjoyed their job. They really enjoyed the people they worked with. They enjoyed coming to work for their operations manager. Our sales team enjoyed coming to the office and getting on the phone with our clients. And so that came from valuing them. I read a book one time that said that if your first customer, your number one customer is not your employees, you are headed for trouble. And I've always taken that to heart when we're doing all these things we can for customers and making sure their experience is great. And then we just kind of leave our employees out in the cold, so to speak. And it's very easy to say, well, we pay them, right? They're making a living. We pay them more than most people pay them. They're on great commission, whatever it might be. That is, honestly, it's not enough. And I'm an old guy, right? I come from a different era of how employer-employee relations used to be. But I can tell you now more than ever, in the crop of people that we're interviewing and employing these days, work-life balance, the environment in which they're working, how supervisors talk to them and treat them, what the benefits are, 4-day work weeks, some days working from home on those extended holidays. There's all kinds of things that we can do without fully giving in to just, everybody working from home in their PJs, right? But we have built that environment where people want to be there, and that comes from valuing them, making sure that we're depositing in that account of compliments and saying good things about them in front of their peers, because there are times that they get the negative in front of those same people. If those balances get out of whack, and you guys get it, I mean, from your own personal account or your business account, if you're only ever withdrawing and you're never depositing, you're going to get a call from the bank, right? And you're going to be upside down there. So you got to invest in your people. You've got to value them, and you can't just say you value them. You have to prove it. And when you build that team, put the right people in the right places, the job gets immensely easier at the top and in the management section. And, we've had people at Black Tie that were great employees that we had in the wrong place. So we could have just fired him, right, and went and looked for the next person. But what we found was we just didn't have him in the sweet spot. You athletes know the difference between hitting a baseball on the handle or hitting it in the fat part of the bat. Our golfers know when you hit the center of that driver, the big one wood, right? It just feels like you didn't even touch it, but it went further. And so that's the same way with employees and people. If you'll just get them in the right spot, treat them well, that environment in which they work will grow and be better, and the team environment is better. I'm a huge team guy, right? And I say it whether it's in the moving industry or in the tactical side of the world. I look at people and I look at their trustworthiness and how they operate and their honesty and integrity. And I go, would I want to kick a door down with that person? Well, to me, that has a different meaning than it has for others. But I have had to look behind me and know whether those are guys that I want to kick a door down with. And I look at that when I looked at my executive team at Black Tie. Those are all guys that I would kick a door down with. My owners, our GMs across the nation with Black Tie, those are all people that I absolutely would go to the mat with. And so to me, that's it, man. That's how you build a team, how we've done it, and just got to value people, treat them right.
Yeah. And I think a big part of the team you guys have built, and I think I can say this about, Eric as well and Steve, it's a big part of the big moves you guys get too because of your team. I mean, you guys have moved, I don't as much know Eric and Steve, I know you have, but JC and one of our customers, they've moved so many celebrities I can't even count. JC's moved celebrities in the who was it? The country singer, the female, had you be a biker in one of her country songs.
Oh man, yes.
I gotta see this.
What's her name?
No, it's not. It's not her. It's one
of the famous country songs, and he's the biker getting thrown out of a bar.
Yeah, down to the honky tonk. That is the
sing it for us?
country song. I may or may not be in that video. You'll have to check it out and see.
That would be Jake Owens.
Owens. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. But
Jake
anyways,
Owens.
I mean, a big part of, the relationships I know they've built, and I know everyone else in here that owns a moving company, people always ask them, how do you get those moves? How are you getting these celebrity moves? How are you getting, all these things? And it's the branding and it's the people. Those are the two main things.
Yeah.
Because if your branding sucks, those people aren't going to hire you. And if your people are bad, they're going to know about it.
It's word of mouth for sure. The same as it is with a college student telling another college student, hey, they did my dorm move and they did it quick and efficient and came in under the budget. It's the same. These people talk, they're just in a bigger circle. And, Laney, we moved Laney Wilson, and that wasn't too long ago. And, our movers, she didn't know it. She just knew she was going to be in a video with it. She was so sweet, so kind about it. And when my guys jumped off the back of the truck, pulled up to her house, they were all wearing tight red bell-bottom pants.
Yeah, right.
She thought it was the funniest thing. And so is that kind of a corny thing or silly? I mean, yeah, it was. And the guys were great sports to do it. Again, great team, great environment. They were willing to take that step. But Laney thought it was killer. Right.
But it goes back. It goes back to the team. I mean, your guys did the same thing. What's the country singer where they all got on the back? He sings the song about
Applebee's,
and they danced and sang with him.
Walker
and he's
Hayes.
Famous. What's his name?
Walker Hayes.
Walker Hayes.
Yeah.
They move him, and then all the guys are on the back of the trucks dancing to his song with him. Like, you can't pay for that.
Right.
It doesn't matter what you try and do. You couldn't pay for it. You couldn't call Walker Hayes and get a hold of him and say, hey, we want to do a commercial for Black Tie Moving. And he'd do it. I mean, you just couldn't do it. It's the relationship that the guys built while they're out there. So I think that's huge. Go ahead.
Oh, so The Way of the Shepherd is a book that really, really impacted me and kind of changed the culture at my organization and kind of how I look at things. You're going to have the most beautiful flock if you're taking care of it, or you could have a pretty ragged flock. And you got to look at ways and look for different unique ways to make that flock successful. You got to listen to them. You got to care about your people. Most importantly, kind of share. That's the biggest thing. Share who you are. take those opportunity spaces, I call them, as those, what I call as opportunity spaces when they're late, right? When they're coming back from a move and they didn't have everything that went well, when they had this dresser or they did something wrong. That's how I built my company. Just pull them in man to man, one-on-one, and say, look, this is what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to do this for this organization, and this is the opportunity you have, and this is where I'm going. And that's when I've gotten the biggest buy-in I could have, is saying, this is being really like transparent of, this is my goal. This is how I want to lead this organization, and can you help me? And take them home, right? If a guy's leaving, that's an opportunity space, right? You have those same conversations where you get to share, hey, this is who I am. This is where I'm trying to go. And nobody's loud and proud and trying to be too cool. And they're open, and they're there to work, right? They're there to grow. They want to see hope. Hope goes a long way. So building a team. And then, as JC, have the high standard. Always recruit. Always recruit. Your bottom 15% is not good enough.
And how hard it was during COVID.
Yeah.
If you weren't recruiting during COVID, we had customers of MOVEITPRO. They couldn't handle the jobs because they had the moves coming in, but you couldn't handle the jobs because you didn't have guys to send out, and how hard that was, because a lot of them weren't recruiting until you needed to recruit, right?
Yeah, I think it made all of us think differently. It made all of us say, hey, how can we not have turnover better? How can we take care of our guys? How can Black Tie not steal my guys with that cool lounge they put in? We got to raise the bar, right? And that kind of put us in perspective and said, man, people have a choice of where they spend their time, and they can go next door at a time like this. So you got to be really a different environment, a different culture, and take care of your flock. And once you do that, man, you can go magical places.
Yep. I think taking care of your guys. And I think that's one thing, JC, when you guys were going through COVID, you guys had a couple of your locations. You were hard to get guys. You guys were flying drivers to other locations to handle jobs, so you wouldn't disappoint customers. If I remember you telling me that before.
That's correct. And I think,
which is crazy to think of, local move.
Yeah.
And you're flying a driver out because it was that hard to find.
Wow.
Quality guys.
Chris Hess is probably on this webinar listening in, and Chris is our owner and operating partner in Ohio locations. And Chris had a great crop of guys, again, great culture. He understands it, right? And when you have multiple locations, it works to the advantage. Sometimes everybody's not always as busy as the other locations. And Chris would be in a little dip, and he would call and be like, hey, man, you need any help? Can we send a couple guys? Memphis did that for us. Not Steve, by the way. I don't know why he didn't, but
they're friendly competitors.
That's right. That's right.
I
don't lose guys to him. He doesn't lose guys to me.
That's right. It's true.
They're happy.
That's exactly right.
I can't pull them. They're happy over there, and they're happy over here because we're taking care of our flock.
That's a great point, Steve. I hadn't really thought of. But you guys are an organization that we don't swap employees from, and that does speak to culture. It speaks to Corey's culture in Memphis at Black Tie. It speaks to your all's there. And I know Steve and the guys at Big League would help us out. We do the same for them in Columbus. Chris has
what's going on, Corey?
Chris has friends in the industry, and they've called us when they were just absolutely booked out. And we'd go help out with a move. We have done the same thing where we refer a client rather than just leave them hanging to get a bad experience. If we just absolutely couldn't service their move, then I'm going to put them onto someone through these networks and events like this that I know to where they can have a good experience. Right. And they'll remember that. And so, man, it's true though. Yeah, Jason, we had to share guys, but you're right, man. During COVID, it was some wild times of trying to keep the staffing up for sure.
Staff, pads, dollies, trucks.
Yep. So the next one, a question came in is what makes Greg, I'm probably going to let you speak a little bit to this one. Because this is how you started your career in the moving industry. What makes a great on-site estimator and a booking agent? and what separates the best from the rest. And you were one of the best. I know you helped Eric out. Eric's smirking. You know, you guys have worked together a long time. You worked for some of the van lines, I believe. And I would love to get your input because you're one of the good old boys that did this for a very long time. Oh, you're muted. Let me unmute you. We'll let you talk.
My bad. I just I was picking it on. Sorry about that. Yeah,
You're fine.
After 25,000 estimates, I think I finally got smart. And I realized that winging it was stupid. That cost me, I don't know how much money. And not saying you would rehearse things. I don't want to use that word incorrectly, but I knew exactly what I was going to say when I walked in the door. I knew exactly where I was going to sit at the table. I knew exactly what I was going to say. I knew exactly what my one-liner was going to be, to have the husband look at the wife and say, when do we get started? So not winging it was one thing. Showing up on time.
Yeah, so thanks for asking. No, I would say.
You're good. Go ahead.
Okay. That's okay. I don't know what's going on there. And the question basically, what makes you better? Showing up on time. Don't show up 5 minutes early, because people say, what time should I show up? 5 minutes early? No, don't do that, because now the person was on the phone. That's why they scheduled it for 12 o'clock, because they had a call with the VP of sales of their $1 billion company and you interrupted them. Show up on the time. If it's 12 o'clock, it's exactly 12 o'clock. Go around the corner and hang out, and then pull up at 1 minute of and hit the doorbell. There are things like how to answer the phone correctly. I don't think most movers don't get it right. They don't ask the empathetic question. Hey, Joe, why are you moving? What's going on? They start into the transaction. So when I think it's this a proven fact. I read this and I think it's to be true, that the best non-salespeople that come into the sales industry are teachers and nurses. And why is that? Well, it's easy, because they actually care. I mean, it's not funny, but it's kind of funny. But they actually get paid to care. They don't get paid to teach. Or excuse me, they get paid to care for that, either the group of people or a nurse and the person. And when you put on your customer service hat and stop putting on your sales hat, which I reminded myself over and over the years, you come off different. And that's when my sales just went through the roof. And I should write a book. I want to write a book called Never Follow Up. I kid around. And the joke is, you won't have to if you do your job when you're talking to someone. You won't be begging for business. So
you'd ask for the sale when you were there in their living room, right?
I wanted them to ask me for different. You ready?
But your goal was leaving that day. A lot of companies, they go there, they do an on-site, and they leave.
Yeah.
Because they're scared of getting told no, and then they email them the estimate, and then they follow up with them for three weeks.
They beg for business for the next 3 months and wonder what happened. Well, why don't you do it while you're in the home? There's one-liners you can have that elevates the moving industry, but sets you apart. That's called your one-liner. It is about a minute long. There's also the part of me that, as I got older, I realized, well, I don't want to sell anymore. I didn't want to sell for a long time. I said, well, I want people to do business with me. What can I do or say that makes people want to do business with me? And the two things that make a sale, according to the experts, not Greg Shepard, was empathy and authority, or empathy and ability. Empathy means you care. Authority means you can pull it off. So why not make statements that act like you care, even if you don't? You got to kind of fake it if you have to at first. And then once you do that enough, you actually start caring about asking about people. Hey, why are you moving? What's going on? What's that? You get kicked out of the neighborhood? You leaving the kids? You keeping these kids? I know they're 5 and 3, but come back after college. It's a lot cheaper. I used to say that to them. I used to walk in the door and say, how long have you been together? 51 years. I said, why him? Somebody else left. But see, that gets it started. Oh yeah, blah, blah. And next, you're on a conversation, not about joking, but the fact was, it was rehearsed, but it came off natural.
Yeah.
So I really didn't. And here's another thing. Boy, everybody's going to hate me on this one. I rarely gave a quote in the home, because I was kind of running to my next one. But half the other reason was I didn't want to get caught in a conversation for an hour, and the next thing you know, I'm late for my next one. Then you're leaving people, and that's not good. But putting a little PS in at the end of when you send your quote. Now, I'm not against your CRM about sending quotes. Come on, everybody says, you don't send a quote via the CRM? I said, no. You don't use a CRM? I said, oh, I didn't say that. I used to download the quote and send it from my personal email. And then I might put a PS in there, like, congratulations on your daughter getting into UGA. You must be a proud mama, go dogs. Because that was a comment that was made earlier, but I went out in the car and wrote it down. And they're like, who remembered? Who said that? That guy's different. Or this is another one. I'm not going to go on. I'm going to one more. This is it. But I put P.S. Thanks for having me out. It's people like you that are going to keep me running around for another 20 years. Thanks a lot. You just ruined my life. LOL. And I would actually put that in, and they would be like, oh my God, that's funny. And I would hit the send button, and you can count to 20, and the email comes back. We're booking with you. So it's people buy from people they like and they trust. So the question is, what do you say that gets people to like and trust you? And it's not about selling your company. In fact, just the opposite. It's about how you can service them, period. Stop talking about your company or yourself and start saying, what can we do to make your move? Here's my one-liner. Everybody, I don't know who's listening on this, but this is one that worked. At the end, or at some point during the conversation, I'd say, folks, as opposed to saying, what can I do to earn your business? That's the old typical sales guy, right? Or sales gal that says, I'm greedy, I'm selfish, I just want to get your business. I don't care what you say, I'm going to say I can do that. Okay, it's manipulative. So I said, folks, is there anything that we could do to make this move go smooth, so smooth that it's like you can't believe it happened? Is there anything that we can do on our part to make that happen? When they tell you the answer and you say, well, yeah, of course we can make that happen. They answered their own question. They have to go with you mentally, or they convicted themselves. I didn't convict them. They said, I said, is there any, and then one more, is there anything else? So asking the right questions, which is how you're going to help them. And stop selling yourself and saying you're the best company in America and you're better than the other guy. And why didn't the other guy do this or that? That doesn't work.
Yep.
So,
no, that's good.
Yeah. But anyway, hope I answered that.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Greg. So
thanks, Greg. That was great.
Next, just to kind of spin it up a little bit, obviously we got more questions that are coming in. But one question, so Bruce, this is going to kind of go to you. Building wealth while being a business owner and creating a legacy. Obviously you help a lot of business owners, and that's kind of one of the things you talk about a lot. And so kind of like to hear your couple minute thing on there. Obviously you've done well for yourself and you've helped a lot of other people do well for themselves that are self-employed.
Well, we all have our opinion of doing well for ourselves, don't we? I'm still at the beginning stages of this, and I'm 65 years old. And I'm not qualified to teach a wealth building class, but I do it all the time. Okay. Yep. So just so you all know, I'm a 10th grade dropout. All right. I didn't finish high school, but I teach people how to gain wealth. And you know what? Everything that you guys have talked about is everything we should all do. And are we doing it all the time? We're not doing it all the time. We're not. How many times do you have your daily team meetings or your team meetings with people and you're going over the same thing? Didn't we cover that last week? I thought we were going to do this every time, and it doesn't happen. Our employees need that constant reassurance. They need that constant training because they forget. Like, okay, today I want to make sure everybody is asking for a referral from everybody you talk to. And they do it that day. And tomorrow you listen to a conversation. You're like, you didn't even ask the guy for a referral. How come? What happened there? So these are ongoing things that we have to train our people on, and they never stop. And when I look at my business and I look at successful people that have great businesses, but when you talk to them, they all look at you and they go, dude, I am broken too. I am a mess. I've got a lot of things I got to fix. Okay. I don't think my business is anywhere close to where I'd like it to be. When you talk to somebody there, you think they've got it all together. We don't have it all together. I'm a misfit. I'm telling you what, I have got all kinds of problems. I work them out. I do the best I can. But I think what you guys have nailed it. It's about that customer relationship. Are you really understanding what the needs of that customer needs and what they want? And can we get into relationship with them? Because you can't sell anybody on any different. You guys are all moving the same thing. You got the same kind of trucks. You got the same pads. You even probably have had the same people from time to time. So what is it that makes you stand out from your competition? So everything that you guys have talked about, being empathetic with your client is so important. but we've got to constantly reinforce this with our employees and our people and show our customers that we really do care. And I can't recall the last gentleman that was talking, but you know, what can we do to make this experience so smooth that you really didn't think there was anything to concern yourself with, something that really made you happy, something that made you feel comfortable with the way that we move you. And I don't know anything about the moving business. I got to be honest with you. I hate moving. It was the most worst experiences that I've ever had. I don't want to move again. I told my wife,
it's a headache.
I'm going to set the house on fire. Okay.
You've only closed 10,000 homes. So this is actually a guy that every one of us would love to have as a referral partner.
That's right.
Anyway, go ahead.
And hopefully that when we all get together, we can form a brotherhood and a friendship where we're all helping each other out. Because as I said, I don't ever claim to have the answers. I don't have the answers. I'm working on the answers every day, probably much like you do. I have the same employee struggles. I have the same HR issues. I have issues with attrition. I have, you know, I'm always trying to build my business bigger and better. And as soon as you think you got it that way, then the wheels fall off and now you're rebuilding it again. And I think that that's just what we do as entrepreneurs. You know, people look at you and they go, oh my God, you know, Steve, you know, he's got a $10 million business and he's making gobs of money, but you know what? You work your ass off for that. You make a lot of sacrifices. Your children are sacrificed because you miss things and ball games or whatever it is, doing homework with the kids. We've all paid the price for that. And so it's not as glorious as people think it is, but the Lord has called upon people like us because we can do it and we're strong enough to do it. Because a lot of people don't have the fortitude to do the things that we do every day. It's hard. And it can be emotionally draining for us. I know it is for me. So when I look at my business and I look at my employees and my opportunities, I want to do as much as I can, first of all, to make sure that everybody's happy within my organization. Because if they're not happy here, your customers aren't going to be happy. You've got to have your employees, if they're not singing the company song, then you don't have the right people or you don't have the right people in the right positions. So we need to start with internally. We got to start with our own families, with our own people, and build that so that they feel so compelled and they can look at their competition and go, nah, I'm not coming over with you. You have no idea what I've got with Steve. The Steve takes great care of me and I'm never leaving Steve.
And I'm so proud, right?
That's the things we want, but that's not an easy thing to accomplish, right? That's an ongoing culture thing. And culture, people say culture, you know, so fast and out of the side of their mouth, but building a good culture and maintaining that culture is very, very difficult to do.
A lot of work.
So, yeah, it's a lot of work and it never stops. It's never over. It's never over. You never really won the game. You know, until maybe you're Gary and you sold the company, right? Maybe Gary won the game. He's the one on the call that won the game. So I'm not there yet. And I've still got a few years to go. And I really feel like I'm even in a rebuilding stage. This last 3 years in my industry has really been not that great. Okay. Now,
I mean, that's the same for most everyone on this call.
Yep,
I mean,
over my history of my career, I cannot complain because I've been blessed for being, you know, having the education that I do, or that I have. I'm blessed that I have what I have and I've done what I've done, but I continue to pay the price and it's not easy. And right now I feel like, you know, and maybe you're in the same boat. We're kind of in that rebuilding phase. We're not starting from scratch, but you know, I just got through rereading the book Traction. I don't know if anybody's read the book Traction before. Phenomenal book.
Great book. Great book.
And by God, I went back and I had a team meeting today with the entire branch and we're redoing our vision and we're re-identifying our roles and the each function within that role and rewriting our SOPs and how are we going to answer the phone and how are we going to ask for referrals and how can we satisfy these clients and How can we get somebody from contract to close in 21 days without any hiccups? You know, everything takes rebuilding, and we have to reinvent ourselves because our industries are changing and people are changing and people are finding information in different ways. And we've got to be able to accommodate that, and we have to be able to make those shifts. So I know that.
Hey, Bruce,
Yes.
how much of you, like on your viewpoint, you do a lot of closings. I looked into you a little bit. Heck of a career so far, and but how are you? Do you view yourself as you're a marketer? You're a marketing company, right? You're marketing yourself out there.
100%. If you're not marketing, branding, selling, and listen, don't confuse marketing and branding with sales, because they are different departments. You know, sales are bringing in the loans. The marketing department that's working on our branding is helping us get our name out, so we become a name recognition, so we become omnipresent. And that's a very difficult task. And when Eric said it's going to cost you $15,000 to $30,000 all day long, it's going to cost you $15,000 to $30,000, because by the time you're done, it could cost you millions of dollars. But it's what gets your name out, because you can be the best at you can be the best moving company in the world, the best lender in the world. But if people don't know me, they're not going to call me. So I got to get that call in. What's going to compel those people to make that move? And so these are things that I struggle with, that I work on a day-to-day basis. And I'm constantly looking at what could I do better? I literally will pick myself apart. I went in, and in this meeting today, I said, we're going to grade what we do on an A, B, or C. An A person is an A player. It's very difficult to find A players. Very difficult to find A players. Shows up on time, stays late, doesn't argue about what they're asked to do, does it without being asked, does a great job at it. Okay. I'm not an A player. I'm probably a B or a B plus player, but I'm looking for B and B plus players, because the A players are going to leave you. They could have attitude. They could have egos, and I'm not interested in that. So I'm looking for good B players. So
their own vision and question where you're going.
They all question the vision and where we're going. So right now we're reinventing that vision. So I already know what my vision is going to look like, but I'm having them come up with that vision. So I'm leading them in that direction so that they all have that buy-in, right? I could come out and say, hey, we're going to do this and we're going to do that, and this is the vision. And it's like, oh yeah, Bruce come up with all these grandiose ideas that we're going to do, and then we're just going to have to do them. No, they're going to come up with these ideas. I'm just going to lead that sheep into that pasture so they know what we're looking for. And that's my next step here. As far as wealth building, you know, I have been dirt poor. When I say dirt poor, I couldn't feed myself. I couldn't feed my dog. I had no money. I was literally at the bottom, and I did not ever want that to happen again. And so I made a commitment to myself that I was going to be the best that I could be in whatever field I was going to do. And I happened to fall into the lending industry with a friend of mine, and it just became ideal for me. And I was able to do it without having, you know, a bachelor's degree or a finance degree. And it was something I was able to do. And most of my business is sales, putting together the numbers for a mortgage for somebody. I can teach anybody how to do that. I can teach you how to gather pay stubs and W-2s. But what's important is, can I attract that customer? Can I give that customer the peace of mind that they're working with the right company? Because you could have called Rocket Mortgage, you could have called your bank, you could have called your credit union, you could have got on the interweb and found somebody, but you chose me. So I have to earn the right for that business. Every single client, I'm re-earning that right, just like you are. You go out and make those sales presentations. They don't know you. You might have made that same presentation this morning, but you got to make it again. We've got to get these customers so that they feel compelled to want to work with us. And I think the reason that Jason asked me to do a wealth building class is I teach a wealth building class that's primarily based around acquiring real estate. But I am diversified in the market. but I don't think most people have a clue as to what to do when it comes to investing their money. I think that they hire a financial planner at Edward Jones or somewhere, and they're selling them the products that they think that they're supposed to be sold and they're told to sell. But how do we keep it simple? How do we make it so that we can have a balanced portfolio in real estate, in the market, and come out on top? And it doesn't have to be complicated, but I think most of us make it more complicated than it really has to be. So I haven't, and I'm not saying this proudly, but I haven't used a financial advisor in probably 10 years. And I interviewed a dozen of them. And every time I got down to the bottom of it, they're always comparing themselves to the S&P. So if you're comparing yourself to the S&P, I can invest in the S&P and I don't have to pay a brokerage fee for it. So why don't I look at investments that might not cost me money? They make me money. So I got with people that have been much more successful than I have. I have a coach that's been coaching me for years. He's worth in excess of $100 million. And he's also a high school dropout. So I love him. We can relate to each other. And he has taught me what it takes to be able to make money in the market and keep it as simple as you possibly can. So I'm going to teach that class that I've learned from him and implement these systems that have helped me gain wealth in real estate and gain wealth in the market. So hopefully people will understand that they don't have a Harvard graduate or a financial expert. I'm not licensed to sell stocks or give people financial advice. I'm going to share my journey and I'm going to share what I do, because everything I do, being ADD, like super ADD, my attention span is damn near zero. So if I'm not highly structured in my day and everything I do, I get squirrely. So you look at my calendar, you look at my days of events, everything is strategically planned to keep me on track. And I have 2 people on my team that keep me from being a squirrel. Like, you got 5 more minutes, you got to be off that call.
I'm the same way.
You got 3 more minutes and you've got a call to make. You got an appointment in Kissimmee and it's a 45-minute drive time. I'm going to give you an extra 10 minutes. By the way, when you're finished there, I need you to stop and grab a sandwich because you got 20 minutes before you got to get. This is the way that they treat me. Like, I hire people to keep me on track because I will fall off the rails.
And you know your weakness. You know your
my
weaknesses on that side. So you hired to address it. You hired to get somebody to kick you in the butt and say, "Hey, I need you out of bed. We got some stuff to do."
Yeah. Now, I don't have a problem getting out of bed. I'm a workaholic. I have trouble staying on track. Okay.
Yeah.
Like,
that's finding something.
So, I'm going to teach a wealth building class on the things that I did and the things that have helped me gain wealth. And I'm also going to be doing an exercise on how much money do I need to retire? So we're going to go through a complete exercise. It will be a workshop type event, but I'm going to walk everybody through all the steps and the numbers. So if people come to this class and you know what your income is, and I don't mean gross, I mean what you're taking home, and you know what your current wealth is in retirement, real estate, cash savings, we're going to do a workup that's going to give you the answers that you need, because most of us don't think we need as much money as we do.
And then you got to share it in front of no, I'm just kidding. You don't have to share it. Although Travis did just put $1 billion.
Well, Travis may have $1 billion. He may be one of those guys that
I wouldn't be here. I love you all. If I had $1 billion, I would not be here right now.
Be at
$1 billion.
Yeah.
I'm never retiring.
These won't be things you necessarily have to share out loud. I'm going to share what I do and what I have and where my investments are and how I've managed that. And what I do may not be right for everybody. But what I do is very simple. If it's not turnkey, it's not going to happen. As soon as I start getting things complicated, I fall off the rails. So I've got to have things that are basically, I can push that button and these things are going to happen for me.
Yep. That's awesome. Cool. So one we have is Matt. We haven't heard from you. So technology is revolutionizing the moving industry. Obviously, over the last, I mean, I can attest to this, and I'm not just talking CRM, but over the last 5-10 years, there's been so much technology that's come out for the moving industry. I mean, between the video estimate stuff now that's out, the much more accurate GPS tracking, and the automation of customers being able to see where the truck's at and getting notified when it's 5 minutes away, like Uber Eats, the tons of different things of AI that's come out, stuff like that. So if you want to go ahead and take a couple minutes and kind of talk about, obviously you own a moving company as well, things that you've seen change and things you guys are using there, either with your company or with the moving company you own.
Yeah, for sure. That's a good one. Can you guys hear me?
Yep. You sound great.
Cool. Yeah. So, as you guys all know, and I'm sure AI is here, right? And it's not going anywhere. And I think, obviously that's been the buzzword for the last 2-3 years. It's just everything we hear. And like I said, it's not going to end. In 2025, you're going to hear a lot more of AI agents. What are these? Where are they coming from? And they're going to continue to come into the marketplace and start streamlining some of our operations. And how they fit with movers, still trying to figure out. I'm sure it kind of fits from an admin reporting level, but they are going to do a lot for us. And I know, the movers that are going to adapt to using AI, getting these AI agents in place are going to really accelerate over the competition. It really kind of reminds me of my dad, who had a furniture store for many years. And, he was kind of always naive on a website. He's like, I don't need no website, man. I got the phone book. I got TV ads. We're good. And I posted recently on my Facebook an old TV ad of his, but
actually,
regardless, did you see it? Yeah,
Yeah.
It's a classic, and it's one of those things where he didn't want to adapt. Now, bless his heart, man, he retired exactly when he needed to, and it's great that he did. But he kind of got passed behind because everyone else was doing websites, everyone was doing social, everyone was optimizing with SEO. And unfortunately, if you're not going to keep up with the times, things are going to pass you by. And I think this kind of goes with AI too. AI for me has been a huge revolution, just like with the things you can do. And I don't think everyone's using it to its full capabilities. They're like, cool, I'm going to send an email off with it, or I'm going to send a message to my wife telling her how good she looks today. Of course, as soon as I did that one time, she knew. But she's like, you'd never say that. But it was late one night.
Hope you are well or something.
I hope this message finds you well.
Yeah,
I'm like, okay, dude,
Delete
did you
that.
just have to ChatGPT me? Come on, man. At least delete that line for me, regardless. But no, it was late one evening, and it was kind of like one of those nights where ideas buzz in your head. And I want to tell a quick story about something I did with AI that was pretty cool. And I couldn't, rest until I came up with something to do with ChatGPT. Like, what else can I do with this? Obviously, I could write the kid a bedtime story, other things. And I started to think of what if we could have a box calculator on our website? Because everyone, as hey, how many boxes am I going to need for my move? It's always the big mystery, right? Whether they use your boxes or not, I wanted to provide value for our customers. So I went through and kind of coded. I just said, hey, chat, how can we make something that would be very different and something that we could just implement into our website really quickly? And with the help of going back and forth with ChatGPT, and without spending thousands of dollars on a developer, I was able to kind of put something together to slap on our website and provide value for our clients. And so when I say that anyone can do this, I think you can when you do take the time, you really investigate with it. And so I think that code right now I've shared with all my friends. And obviously, if you guys want that code, hit me up. Happy to share it to you. I'm sure your web developer can slap it on your website pretty easily. But yeah, it's crazy the stuff that's going on with AI, and I can't wait to continue how that grows. And when we do this, event, I want to tell more stories about what I'm doing with it and other ideas that people could use to adapt to it. And by that point, even 2 months from now, we're probably going to be so much further than even now. So yeah.
I'm not sure we're going to be able to talk for 3 days and sleep with this crowd on that side. we're gonna have so much to talk to and
So much to talk about,
collaborate with, and learn about.
I think it's amazing. So there's a couple. That was great, Matt. Thank you very much. And I 100%
Yeah, of
agree.
course.
I mean, one of the big things. Lights messing up. The strobe light. We're having a party in here. One of the big things in every business is getting left behind. And if you're not changing or adapting to what's going on around you, then you become, the Blockbuster, you become the Sears, you become, these huge organizations, Blockbuster that, originally had the entire market of the rental business for movies and decided not to go on demand, and in fact, turned down, purchasing Netflix and stuff like that. And obviously, if they look back at it now, that was the biggest mistake that ruined that brand, ruined all the shareholders of Blockbuster, and literally took them to broke. And so, even when our moving company, when I first came into it, like we were still running Yellow Page ads, that was just, if back in the day, if you had, you could go rent a truck. We weren't renting a truck. We had trucks and stuff. But if you put a dollar bill size ad in the Yellow Pages, your phone started ringing. It's just as simple as that. There was no place for people to write bad reviews about you because it just didn't happen. The only place someone could write a bad review about you is if they posted something in the newspaper, but they'd have to pay to post bad about you in the newspaper, right? But the whole industry's changed, right? Like obviously Yellow Pages at this point are, worthless for the most part. The way things have changed with reviews and branding and all that stuff is really changed. So obviously I know we've approached an hour and 10 minutes already. There's a couple questions that have come in. I'll kind of read them off. If anyone has to go, totally understand. But I'm going to read them off, and then maybe we'll just do a 1 or 2 minute answer for and then we'll just go. Maybe 5:30 would probably be the end, which would be another 20 minutes or so. So, but again, if anyone needs to leave, no problem. So we got CRAM Akoda had posted, and he's thinking of starting a moving company. And would you guys that own a moving company, would you invest in a moving company in 2025? Meaning not in his company, but if you didn't run a moving company now, knowing everything you know, would you start a moving company still again this year? I see Eric smirk. Travis is saying yes. Does anyone want to give a 1 minute? Oh, I can't hear you, Eric.
I think absolutely. I'd say most of the people on the stage, Eric for one, what did he just invest in his branding? I think that's absolutely, the moving industry is prime. I got to say that I 1 to 2 minute answer. I love this industry with all my heart. I started with $1,000. I don't know in many other industries. I don't know if I have the gift of gab in the world of mortgages, but in moving, there's not many other industries I could do what I've done with $1,000 and get a return on that. And so absolutely, this industry is still there. It's harder than when I did it for $1,000. Everything's a lot more expensive. You got to think differently on it. That's why I created Ready Rolls to make it more affordable to scale. But that's I'm all in the moving industry in 2025.
Yep. And I think a big thing, I mean, I'll say here, and Bruce, you might be able to comment on this. Obviously we're both of our industries, the mortgage industry and our industry, is very tightly tied to the interest rates. I think we all know right now, if the interest rates were still 3%, we would all be so damn busy. Not saying you guys aren't busy now, but we would be so busy. We'd be in the same thing.
We're making money,
guys, and everything else.
We won't be busy. We're making money.
Yeah.
There's a bent up demand that's ready.
Yep. And I believe, and Bruce probably put more into this, but I think we're finally, hopefully, on the way out of these higher interest rates. I know they haven't dropped as much as we'd like yet, but over the next year, I'd hope. Do you have any prediction on that? Being that you see this, you follow the bond markets and everything very closely.
I can tell you what I'll tell you what, my 2 cents. First of all, I would have expected interest rates to be better than they are today. They've gotten worse. The Fed's cut the Fed rate a full point. They did a 0.5 point in September, 1/4 point in November, 1/4 point in December. We've dropped a full point on the Fed rate. That has done nothing but deteriorate the bond market. Of course, mortgages are tied to the bond market. So as energy gets sucked out of the bond market and into equities, and I think as Trump gets in there, our economy is going to do a lot better. But if the economy does extraordinarily well, then the stock market's going to do well, and that's going to suck more energy out of the bond market, and that's going to make rates worse. So I'm not really optimistic about a near future of a drop in interest rates. I am optimistic about enthusiasm in the market, about people feeling better about their future, about feeling more secure, making more money in the market. But I don't see that we're going to see any type of a drastic drop in interest rates anytime soon. All of my indicators would have shown me, if you asked me this a year ago, I would have said that we would be at 5.99%. And today you're really into the sevens for all intents and purposes. So as long as my industry is struggling and people are not buying homes, you're going to suffer along with me. The real estate agent's going to suffer with me. The guy that's selling cars is going to suffer with us. So it's going to either take the economy to be going so well that people just ignore the fact that we've got a 7.5% interest rate.
Yep.
But I don't see that. And here's the two factors that it's going to take to lower interest rates. You're going to need inflation below 2%. And I mean the real 2%, not the 2% that the government was telling us, the real deal. Okay. When they said inflation was at 9 and we knew we were at 14 or 15, we knew we were there, but the government was leading us to believe it was better than it was. I think if we can get inflation at 2% or lower, that's going to be a huge help because inflation is the arch enemy of the bond market. Second thing is drill, baby, drill. So Trump wants to drill. He wants to frack. If we can open up all the energy, it's going to reduce inflation and it will stimulate the economy. And I think that that's what's going to bring interest rates down. But I think we'll be lucky in the next 12 months if we can get to a 6% interest rate. We'll be really lucky. And because I just don't see that we're going to get to a flat 6.
Yeah. And I don't see us hitting the 3s again. I wish I would have bought more real estate when they were 3s.
Not going to happen.
It's not going to happen again. I'm never refinancing those places though.
Yeah.
All right. That's good. Thank you.
One thing I'd like to say is like, it is hard. I get I'm a marketing company in the moving industry and you guys are in there too, but this is a really good opportunity for us to self-reflect and like the struggle is part of the journey. And this is part of the journey of being a business owner is the real struggle and it's part of the journey and that's okay. And we are in a position right now where we have a really unique opportunity that when everybody is complaining, when everyone's blaming the economy, when everyone's blaming something else, that we get to kind of dig down deeper and go, how do I create more value in my business? How do I create more value for my customers? How do I become a better business? Because now I can beat out my competitors in the slow time. I'll crush it in the good times.
Well
and so
said,
it's just
Travis.
a really good encouragement to go, this is your opportunity right now to not get caught up in politics, not get caught up in interest rates.
Everybody else does.
Let's win.
Your competition
you can't control.
Your competition's caught up.
Yeah, I
that's
agree
exactly
with that. And Travis, we have to look in different ways too. It's like I said earlier, we have to shift based on the economics. Right now, believe it or not, like a big bulk of my business is doing non-conforming loans. That wasn't my business 2 years ago. I only did a few of them every now and again. Somebody that needed something that was outside the box. Now I would bet you 40% of my business is either hard money or bank statement loans or DSCRs. I mean, they're people that have money, but don't want to show their money are coming out of the woodwork right now. So, and that's
do
one of
something
the things,
different. Yeah.
That's one of the things I want to
Double
share
down.
with you guys so that your salespeople can start tapping into the shift. Because first of all, we're going to talk about realtors and how important they are. Your realtors, you guys should be loaded with real estate agents. Your business referral sources is the same as mine. And realtors know who's selling homes. They know who's moving. financial planners. You guys got to be all up in the financial planners. Because if I'm going to go buy a house in Georgia for a vacation home, the first thing I'm going to do is call my banker or my financial guy and say, hey, which account do you recommend I take my money out of for the least consequences, right? So they know who's moving. So we've got to
ask questions like Travis. Like Travis sees, how many moving companies are you around the country, Travis? Are you working with?
About 128.
Man, reach out to Travis because he sees what's working. He's talking to all of us and he's learning. Even if it's not digital, he's going, I can help you. I see what Steve's doing in Memphis. I see. And if he's not with us, he's studying it, right? Because he wants to make sure he's on top of the market. So reach out to me, who's doing something different, and be different, right? Restoration industry. If you weren't there last year, talk to them, right? Talk to pipes busting, get that work. Ask somebody in the network for FF&E, right?
That's
Do commercial moving.
Steve, we have to look for those opportunities. And you can complain about the market. And when I hear realtors talking and even my competition, they're like, oh my God. I'm like, you've got to dig deeper because these are the times, and Travis said it, if you can do okay now, you'll crush it when the market turns around. Because the profits are made on the upswing, but we've got to dig in deep and find the things that our competition is not willing to do.
Yeah.
Fight for it.
I think the add to that is when it gets tough is when the weak guys go out of business.
Yeah.
So, and that's happened, we saw it happen with our own moving company in the 05, 06, probably half of our competitors went out of business. And it was a hard couple of years for us. Luckily we had zero debt. We owned our building and we kind of ran lean, which really saved us because in 2008, half of our competitors had their brand new trucks, parked outside their brand new facilities, and they had not enough
making
business,
payments on them,
and they went belly up. And it wasn't until 2010 or so when it really took off, 2008, 2009, whatever. When it started coming back, and we picked up so much market share because our competitors had already moved on to different industries if they went out. So I think that's a really big thing.
And know that too, when your competition right now, they are fighting to keep the light bills on.
Yep.
So treat your customers like the next person they're calling is fighting to keep their light bill.
Yeah.
You got to take every lead and try to maximize it.
Yep.
I have a client who took over sales, and it's to paint a picture, took over sales, and we would have been saying, hey, I think we're dropping the ball. We're looking at these leads. We're looking at quotable. We're looking at what the market does. We're comparing you and going, you're below the market. He ended up taking over sales and booked like $28,000 of jobs that were just closed or lost or not followed up with literally within 2 days. And so the idea is you've got to be on, like Steven say, you got to be on this like a fine-tooth comb. You got to be on it very closely to make sure you're following up with leads, you're taking care of your customers, and you're closing them, because it's money left on the table, and the money is people are hungry for the money right now.
Yep. And I think that's a big thing. Sales. Every one of these gentlemen's organizations, if you're in their market, which Black Ties, I don't know, 7, 8 markets, Steve, you're in multiple markets, Eric in Atlanta. If you're in their markets, just Memphis. Okay. If you're in their areas, I can guarantee you when their people pick up the phone, they treat that customer like their family. And they're going to bust their ass to get that sale. And I don't mean trickery. I mean, they're really going to do a phenomenal job. And there is no better place than to learn from these guys, because that's the neat thing of why I love doing things like this is when I ran J&J Metro with my dad, there was nothing like this. There was no community. Eric started Moving Company Owners Unite, which was a Facebook group, which is phenomenal. And I think he talks about it because he made that because there was nothing. There was nothing before. All of us movers back then, 10, 15 years ago, we were all competitors, and you didn't want to talk to each other. You were like this, we didn't want to share our secrets. We didn't want to whatever. And there's so much business out there for all of us, especially for all of us that run true good organizations that put the customer first, put our people first. There's more than enough business for all of us. And for us to be able to create and make the industry better as a whole is tremendous. And I think that's the better thing, because there's so much, and we've all heard it. Bruce, you're not even in our industry, and I'm sure you've heard of people getting ripped off by movers.
Of course.
People, grandma, everyone has that stigma in their head, and the fact that for all of us and the people that are listening to this to be able to learn from you gentlemen, which I would trust every one of you with moving my own mother, and learn how you do things and be able to sit down and hang out and go bowling and stuff like that at this place. I don't know that you really could pay for that. You know what I mean? If it wasn't for this event or
Is
another event.
everyone on this panel going to be at the event?
They will
Absolutely.
be.
Yes. At the house.
Okay.
I'm at the house.
In the
I can't
house,
wait
yep.
to just talk.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
I want to say this too. Please don't window shop us. I study that booking percentage. Just call me. Just DM me. Reach out. I will show you behind the door if you're not in Memphis. But please don't mess with my booking percentage. I'll teach you what I know on that side. I think Eric will probably say the same thing there. I get a lot of test calls on that side. And I'll help you out.
Well, for all of you, Cross Country is the largest retail lender in the country right now, and we've got branches in just about every city throughout the United States. So what I would like to do is get to know each and every one of you and what market you're in. And then I can then turn you on to the branches that are in your territory that can maybe get you involved in some of their lunch and learns and realtor meetings and things of that nature, because lenders are always looking for people to help them sponsor an event. And every lender is looking for realtors. That's our main source, which is the same source as yours. So we might as well work together and hunt the same game.
And I'll add to that, and you guys may already do stuff like this, but so realtors, as you guys know, or you may not know, but they're required every year to get a certain amount of CU credits to keep their license.
CE credits, yeah.
What is it? CE credits?
CE credit, yeah.
Sorry, got it. And so Bruce, and I'm sure all the other ones, they all, he does lunch and learns where they come to it. He'll have a mortgage broker there himself talking or whatever it is. They get their CE credits, and then he gets to give them their pitch. And he might have 15 or 20 realtors there, which those are the ones that obviously none of you here are in Orlando, but if you had a great relationship with him where he knew he could trust you as a mover, you're going to take care of his people, he would love for you to pitch in a couple $100 and show up and give your presentation to these, right? And it would be worth it every day, all day. Because that's the ones where you're getting the really good quality customers. So I think that's, again, part of the relationship building and stuff. So
sure.
So I think that's about it. There's more questions, but we're not gonna be able to get to them.
I've got to run too.
Yeah, you're good. I'm gonna
come to Orlando and ask those questions.
Yeah, I will see you guys all at the event.
Perfect. I'm going to share this. We only have 2 rooms left. All the kings are sold out. We have 2. They have 2 queens in each one, so 4 beds total. Again, the suites are full suites, so the suites are not like a room in a house or hotel. They have a little kitchenette, full bathroom. I mean, it's in a 28,000 square foot house, so this is not it's not like we rented a regular Airbnb and you're sharing a room with a bunch of dudes. This is, literally everyone is set up like a suite, 28,000 square feet, bowling alley, indoor basketball court, lazy river. We have a masseuses coming there. They have a full salon and massage area in the place where if you're staying in the house, it's included, you don't pay for it. You just need to tip them, hopefully. Right. We have bartenders, all the alcohol is free, all the food's free. It's all included. I would say free, right? But it's all included. And that's all of that other than the masseuse is included also for day pass tickets. So day pass tickets are people that are going to come. If they're already in Orlando, they can just drive and they just got to leave at night. They can't stay in the house at night or book those last 2 rooms. So our goal is to sell that out, which I think we will here in the next week or so, and get the tickets while you can. And I just want to really thank everyone that hopped in on this. And I want to thank all of the speakers for being on this. All of you guys are awesome guys. I want to put on here, we didn't pay any of you to be here. You guys have taken your own time and energy to be here and to help the industry as a whole, which I think is huge. And I think that goes to show the type of companies you guys run, which obviously a few of you have, Ready Rolls is a VA service. And obviously, Bruce, you own a mortgage company also, but The fact that you're able to volunteer your time and it's not a full sales pitch of you trying to shove that down people's throats. You're trying to add value and help the industry as a whole, which is what we're all trying to do so that we can all better ourselves, better our lives, better our families, and the people that are in our industry that we know work so hard. So
thanks,
I just want
Jason,
to
for
appreciate
putting
you
this
guys
on.
all for being on there.
Thank you.
Thank you guys very much.
Let's go.
All right. We'll see you in March. Thank you guys.
Thanks for tuning into our podcast. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button and get notified each time a new one comes out. We'll see you next time.